All right, welcome to Lightning Friday. I am Chaz, one of your co-hosts here. Our other co-hosts on Lightning Friday are Jestopher and Evan. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, shoot, this is... Hey, sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm mobile today. I've had the week off, doing a little bit of traveling, so my connectivities might be a little limited. But hoping to have a little bit of conversation with you guys. I haven't really been keeping too close to tab of what's going on, so hoping I could get some updates from y'all. And as you can hear, I'm in the car. We got some navigation going.
That's awesome.
Well, fantastic. I think we should go ahead and start the show how we usually do here, and that's by looking at our capacity numbers. So I think that also leads us into a pretty interesting topic with LNbig. Like me and Jestopher were talking last night about it, that he, put in X amount of Bitcoin and kind of rocketed us up. And now it looks like he actually closed quite a few channels, like a lot of his smaller channels that weren't like Wumbo channels. What do you guys think about this?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, generally speaking, if you're a big operator, especially, it's gonna behoove you to be operating big channels, right? You have to look at it from two perspectives. It's number one, it's how much routing you're going to be doing through a certain channel as number one. And number two is the on-chain transaction management of those smaller channels once you close them off. So you're really going to be incentivized, if possible, to just, have bigger Wumbo channels and really not opening smaller channels as much. Just because of the costs, the fees that you're taking into account there, the channel management, and you also get less usage through a channel if you're balancing it only one way. You gotta pretty much be doing more operations on it because it's a smaller amount. So this is sort of to be.
Yeah, it's a good point. Let's see. I know, like, just getting onto the Lightning Network, it's not only opening channels. The numbers don't go up only, but like overall, like once people are exposed to the Lightning Network, they tend to stay on and stay connected. But when you're looking at liquidity, I mean, a channel opened from day one. You can kind of assume that if someone like knows what they're doing and knows the demand for liquidity, like they can open up channels in the direction that they're needed. And so, like, if you have a whole like influx of Bitcoin, you'll be able to point it in like whichever direction is most needed. So it sounds like LNbig like has a good sense of the demand, and the demand pretty much comes to LNbig and says, hey, I need a channel I'll buy one from you. And so like that operator is able to make these new allocations all over the network. So that involves both opening fresh channels, which will be ready to deploy all that liquidity, as well as like closing out some old channels, because this is an ongoing allocation problem. Like you have to find where you need to point your sats all over the network, and the network landscape is changing rapidly. Now there's well over 15,000 nodes, which was like 1,000 more than last month. This is an ongoing problem. Like it's a good problem to have, but it requires ongoing maintenance, and it's all about allocations.
So just for the record here, it looks like on September 15th, we were sitting at about 2,495 BTC on Lightning Network. Then on the 16th, we were nearly sitting at 2,700. And as of today, we're sitting around 2,550 or so. So that's a pretty big jump and a pretty big dump there a little bit. But like overall, I think this is going to end up being a relative blip. You know, when we're looking back in a few years, like we won't even, you know, tell that this actually really happened or anyone cared. But I just find it to be a kind of interesting kind of waypoint at the current time.
It's kind of funny because it's like you almost like as a routing node, you almost want the on-chain fees to go up, because like then that will push more people to say like, hey, I need to use Lightning because the on-chain fees are too high, and Lightning can get me the instant settlement without the rigmarole and the additional cost of an on-chain transaction. So it actually might be bullish for Lightning if people are like taking out liquidity. I mean, because that's gonna mean that the yield for routing is gonna go up if the mempool fees go up and the Lightning capacity goes down. It's gonna look at it like very much as like almost like a bond market. Like as there's higher demand for bonds, the yield, I believe the yield goes down. As the price for bonds go up, yield goes down.
So kind of going beyond that news, I'm not sure there's been that much Lightning Network news this week, besides maybe just talking about El Salvador a bit more. I'm not sure if you've seen any developments on the routing side, Jestopher.
Not a ton as far as like actual developments. One of the other pieces that came out of emerging markets was that Paxful added Lightning support, and I think that's huge because they've got a really big presence in Africa. And I was looking at exchange volumes for like people buying Bitcoin all over the world and just listing it out by country or by continent. First goes like United States, and then second in exchange volume is Russia, and it at almost the exact same volume is Nigeria. So like Lightning, and if there is like Lightning development happening, it's going to be huge for people that want to improve the banking system and improve access to finance. Lightning is going to be huge for that. So like that, like coupled with El Salvador, that is like using it as a functional payment method. And I would love to get updates, about, the El Salvador new payment method. And it's difficult to get information like on the ground, like what's actually happening, because there's not really on-chain metrics that we'll be able to look at. And especially not if people don't have their own nodes, which, I mean, it's going to be a big like problem for the network. Like, how do we onboard people directly onto the Lightning Network, like using their own hardware, and kind of like democratize access to this cutting edge technology? Like, is it user friendly enough? Like, can we onboard the next million to a billion people?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I named this chat onboarding a billion to the Lightning Network. I'm not sure how practical that is in the short term, but it is a kind of a fun thought experiment on will this stuff actually work out practically. And in the same kind of category as further adoption, I also see that Bull Bitcoin added support for Lightning Network. So those folks in Canada, that faraway country there, could get that same access to being able to directly onboard to the Lightning Network with Bull Bitcoin. Do you guys have any thoughts on that one?
And just a huge congrats to Francis Pulio on getting Bull Bitcoin on Lightning. Like, that was a big lift. And Kraken, you better watch out, because these other smaller, more nimble companies, are moving into the Lightning Network, and it's like the race is on. Can your exchange be able to provide Lightning services to this next billion people that are going to be joining the Lightning Network? Like, will your exchange have the instant settlement that is available on these other exchanges?
So, Evan, where's Kraken's Lightning Network, bro? Not sure if you can talk right now, so we'll just keep going here. But yeah, like that's it's a very good point, and I think it's very interesting in the future going forward to see the exchanges and businesses that'll actually adopt Lightning Network for themselves and not like outsource it to OpenNode, because I feel like that's a very tempting thing to do if you're already a kind of large exchange or large platform. As I'm sure that you're aware, like trying to do that, try to do routing for a business is very, very challenging. Because it seems like they might have the same kind of idea that, what's that guy's name? Andreas something or other, not Andreas Antonopoulos, but the Andreas like Brecken guy, the shitcoin.com guy, that he put like 1,000 BTC on Lightning Network in like the very early days. And so that seems like the very naive thing to do, just throw a bunch of money on there and it'll take care of itself. But obviously, if you're running an exchange or some other large business, it's much more involved. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, just if you've got a ton of liquidity to manage, like, I mean, OpenNode has to maintain like reliable connections to the rest of the network, and that's not an easy problem. It's an ongoing allocation problem, and yeah, like doing it yourself, like it's a big learning curve. But I think things like PlebNet, they're making it easier and easier to participate and to do like an okay job. But really, you can't just walk into the Lightning Network and like throw 100 BTC out there and expect to make a killing on routing. Like it's just not reality. Like if anything, if you're doing it for your first time, like you're probably going to lose sats out of it. But you might have a fun time because it is, I don't know. I think learning is fun, and yeah, you'll be learning a lot, but I think learning is a lot more fun when you're not losing sats especially to on-chain fees.
Right. So it's like, could you imagine the process maybe of a business that, maybe has a lot on its plate already that kind of describes exchanges, especially if they're like Kraken, maybe not to shit talk Kraken too much, but I think it's pretty fair that they're a casino that has a bunch of shit coins, and they pay attention more to those shit coins because those shit coins make them money, like just period. Like that's not up for debate. And so like having all that money coming in the face of the Lightning Network, it's like, should we even bother to set the shit up? Should we even bother to care? Should we just say, hey, open node, take care of it for us? And it costs some X amount of money, but it's probably a set amount that you agree on with OpenNode, and not some kind of mystery number. Like maybe we'll hire Jestopher to do our node operations for us, but maybe we'll have to hire 2 or 3 Jestophers in order to make that happen, sort of thing. It seems like a very complex kind of cost benefit analysis. And I guess I don't envy the businesses that actually have to kind of do that analysis.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the economics are quite there yet, because like we don't really have enough commerce going on in the Lightning Network to support like a large scale deployment of these routing node operators. Like maybe I should just call them Lightning engineers, like that are going to like set up the payment channels, because like at the like volumes that we're doing commerce right now, like that's not going to supply like yield to support like full-time staff to manage all this stuff. But I think that's where we're headed. As you get more people that are connected to the Lightning Network and you get more commerce going, the yields will go up, because like there's the like liquidity needs to be at the right spot in the network, and services like loop in and loop out like help to support that movement of the liquidity across the network to where it's needed, so that like the commerce can have like a reliable can do reliable payments. Because like that's mainly the reason that payments fail on the Lightning Network, is you don't have enough liquidity and it's not in the right spot in the network. But like routing nodes, they want to be able to like get the information on where liquidity is needed and then start opening channels to deploy it in the right spots. But like as a mostly private payment system, like it's really hard to see what all is going on in Lightning, because you can't see the individual transactions that are going to like support routing nodes in an ongoing sense.
So like in that way though, like I guess we've seen several companies kind of come out, exchanges, Bitrefill, etc., and talk about the percentage of their payments that are coming in on Lightning. And I'm not sure on the Bitrefill side. I think it's going up, but I do think on the exchange side, on I believe Bitfinex was talking about a larger share of their kind of incoming deposits are on the Lightning Network. But I think, yeah, you bring up a very good point there that like the incentives aren't really there for Lightning quite yet. You know, on Bitfinex, like the typical deposit for a Lightning Network transaction is a rather small amount, you know, relatively speaking. And it seems like it's kind of a waste of exchange's time. If you kind of understand the exchange business, you kind of understand it to be like it has like the 80-20 rule where like 20% of your customers are making 80% of your profit, and they're typically the whales. They're they're the ones with all the money, so they're making you all your profit. So you can kind of ignore your, you know, $20 retail folks a little bit. So how do we break out of that? How do we actually increase the incentives? Do we end up having a DeFi or Li-Fi, which I always hated that, but do we have that kind of those added services on top of the Lightning Network in some sense? So some kind of borrowing, lending, whatever thing, a way for people to make yield easily, quote unquote. Would that bring in the money? Would that start making the exchanges perk up a bit? I guess from my end, it's just a bit unclear.
That's a good question. And I think if you're going to do commerce with Bitcoin, like Lightning is the way to go, because like if you are paying out in Lightning, then that means that your node now has more inbound liquidity. Like it's like you essentially get sats back for every purchase if you know where to open a channel to like restore that liquidity. So you can get like a slight discount if you're paying via Lightning versus paying on chain. And with the more that people do that, like we'll get more and more movement on the Lightning Network, like as that commerce improves. So like if you look at it from like the retail perspective, like they like eventually they're going to want Bitcoin, and they might learn that like if you want to get people's Bitcoin, like you have to give them a discount. And one way to give them a discount is to like allow for accepting Lightning, because it's like just slightly better for the person like paying for your good or service if they can pay via Lightning. So it would be like businesses kind of changing their structure to cater to all the Bitcoiners, and like everyone wants their sats. Like they don't know it yet, like in a global sense, but for the people that are paying attention, that understand this Bitcoin technology, like you're going to want a piece of like the technology of the future, and you're going to have to cater to the people that actually have it. So yeah, I think it's somewhat inevitable that we're going to get more businesses that are accepting Bitcoin, and especially accepting Lightning, because like that's where it might be easier to gather up some sats compared to on-chain Bitcoin, or compared to like accepting Litecoin or whatever, as that hit the news earlier this week with the Walmart debacle. So like move away from those like that kind of like scammy crap, and like actually find out where the value is. And I think for the most part, the value is in Bitcoin, and it's going to stay there because we've got the scarcity that backs us up.
Totally agreed. I think kind of moving on slightly here, another piece of news that I actually did see kind of recently here is if you guys are into the Lightning Network at all, You've probably heard of Anton. He's the guy that created BLW wallet, Bitcoin Lightning wallet. He's probably not the best namer of wallets by any means, but he definitely created one of the first like Lightning wallets out there. And he's creating a new wallet. I heard it called something else before, but I think he's calling it Simple Bitcoin Wallet now. And this wallet supports routing on a mobile Lightning wallet. And this seems very new and interesting, but I guess kind of knowing what I know about routing, talking to you enough about routing, etc., it seems to me that you're not gonna make a lot of routing fees on your mobile phone. Am I missing anything here?
Yeah, if you're doing it via mobile, you need some consistent connectivity to the network, and I don't know if mobile phones are really at that stage where like they'd be able to like be a reliable routing node. Not I mean, like I'm open to it. I would hope to be wrong, but I don't think mobile phones are going to be providing the reliability that people are after. But that's super exciting that like there's development going on in that area, and at the end of the day, it'll be the market that is deciding. Like, am I going to point my sats towards a mobile phone to do some routing? Is this what's going to like enable more people to come into the Lightning Network? Like, yeah, that's going to be an individual decision, and we'll see how far that can go. I mean, if you want your phone to be more reliable, like maybe you're going to choose a telecom provider that has better uptime, or that has a more complete network, so that you don't have any downtime for your node that's now on your mobile phone. Like maybe this is where we start making more resilient communication infrastructure, because we do have money on the line.
I mean, I guess like how do I get my mobile phone to have as much uptime as my like VPS node, for example? Because like even my node here at home does not have anywhere close to the uptime that my one in the cloud does. So that seems like a bit of a challenge, and I'm not the person to tell you on how to fix that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because yeah, you can get a VPS for like way cheaper, and you can have static hardware that doesn't have to make all the compromises to make a truly mobile device.
So, I mean, I think it'll be a cool little project, and I'm glad that he's doing it, because Anton does seem to be kind of really trying to push what can be done on mobile. Like, he had some kind of, what is it? Like, he had that externalized route calculation server in his thing to kind of speed up payments. Way back when on BLW, which I found really interesting. So I feel like this is like another example of where he's taking us further. Maybe eventually it'll actually work out.
That would be big. Yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with the transaction accelerator. But that's a cool idea.
I'm not sure about transaction accelerator, but just a like on a mobile phone, it doesn't really have the greatest ability to calculate a route very quickly. So he created like this external server that you pay like 1,000 sats per like 20 transactions or something, and it'll basically calculate your route externally to your phone, so your phone doesn't have to kind of speed up that process.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I've been hearing about people like trying to do like several rebalances at the same time on the Raspberry Pi, and and that is where like they might run out of memory. So if you are able to like outsource that to someone else that has like good visibility into the graph, like that's going to be a service that I can see being like just popping up all over the network, because like at the end of the day, we've got a network of 15,000 and so nodes that are each individual servers with high uptime in general. So like that's a whole network of computers that could be used for all sorts of purposes. And like that's not even making like marketing promises like this is a world computer, but really there's like 15,000 people out there that could dedicate a little bit of computing or a little bit of like database towards like finding the next hop in the network, or to getting you better connected, or to even something as small as just broadcasting a Bitcoin transaction for you. Or as I got to talk to Geistlight earlier about, maybe like you could use this technology to broadcast a stablecoin transaction that is on a different chain, like with using like RGB, which was that was a fascinating conversation. So there's a lot of things that you can do with a network of these computers that are globally distributed.
Just a quick reminder to all of our listeners that if you want to go ahead and join in on the conversation or ask a question, don't hesitate to request the speaker function. I actually have a unbroken Twitter interface today, so let's go hog wild.
Let's do it. Yeah, I would love to hear from the Lightning community out there. What's on your minds? What are you interested in? What questions do you have?
Let's go ahead and welcome to the stage BTC Chi. Do you have a question?
I was just I just tuned in recently, so I didn't catch like some of the previous stuff, but talking about like running Lightning nodes on mobile devices. Like I've got a flagship feature phone, and it's got 512 gig of internal storage. So but I've also got I'm also using 105, and I don't really install all that much, so the storage right now just sort of seems a little bit small in order to run a full Bitcoin node along with the Lightning. Sort of what were people thinking about addressing the internal storage issues?
So I think that one's a pretty easy one to answer. So like right when the Lightning Network first hit mainnet, like maybe 6 months later, I was pretty interested in trying to get it to run on one of my Android phones that I happen to have sitting around. And that never, like the whole storage issue never really came up. Like I think that phone that I'm thinking of had like 64 gigs on it. But yeah, like if you're doing one of these setups, you would just run it in pruned mode. I can't remember how small of a prune. I think you have to have it above a certain size or else Lightning won't work right. But I think it was something like 10 gigs that I went for, and it worked fine. But I think the real point is though, it's beyond novelty. There isn't a good reason to really use your even your flagship phone, Android phone, on running a full node, unless you're going to be able to just dedicate your phone to that and have it plugged in all the time and never leaving your house or apartment or whatever. Even then, I would be like, why not just free up that device and just get a Raspberry Pi to do all the heavy lifting? And It'll be a bit more stable. You don't have to worry about Android getting in the way. So from that sense, I find like it's kind of a waste of time. And so I would definitely recommend using a Lightning wallet or a Bitcoin wallet that points to a full node that's a Raspberry Pi, because in my experience, it's far easier to set up. Like not even counting all these node softwares like MyNode, Raspberry Blitz, etc., that kind of do most of the heavy lifting for you. But just getting it set up, like you can do it. You can get Linux onto Android, and then you can get these things running on the Linux on Android and do all these things and have to type on the command line on your Android phone. It's just not worth it, dude. It's been my experience. But like in a couple years, I'm sure that like the storage thing will be addressed. Maybe you could have a very specific version of Android running that, you know, maybe a very specific ROM that strips out all the bullshit. And maybe it would make a bit more sense. But generally speaking, I think you would want to just have a dedicated Lightning wallet. So having like a Phoenix wallet, a Breeze wallet, or this new one that Anton made, a simple Bitcoin wallet, or his old one, BLW. But yeah, just running the full node itself on the phone, I don't really see the advantage besides, cool, this is fun kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of figuring that you'd say pruning. Another question, you know, what I'm running an Umbral node, you know, on a Raspberry Pi, you know, and what do you think are the best ways to actually connect my phone to my node? Because my Samurai wallet, you know, and my Blue wallet, you know, just don't seem to want to connect, you know, no matter what I do, you know.
And this is where all of Evan's work really comes in, because I think one of the best ways to actually manage your node remotely is to use Zeus. And so that allows you to connect to your Raspberry Pi node, your Umbral node, and it can even be over Tor, because Tor runs inside of your Zeus wallet. So that allows you to really control. You can do on-chain transactions, you could do Lightning transactions, you can even open and close channels using Zeus. So that's just a mobile app that's on your phone, and it's you know, not too difficult of a setup. You can really scan a QR code that is generated by your Umbral node and be able to make that connection. So yeah, you could completely manage this thing, and you can, you know, make a payment as easy as opening an app on your phone to actually make this happen. So yeah, pretty much leverage your infrastructure that you might be maintaining at home to participate in the network.
I also think that Eben and crew are adding the ability to change fees, like the routing fees on your channels within the app as well.
That'd be huge. So that's, I mean, the way that I kind of look at managing those fees is kind of, you can protect your ability to spend through certain channels. So if you've got one channel to a node that is really well connected, you might want to protect that liquidity from other people using it. So that's where you would raise the routing fees on that particular channel. It's not because like you hate that node, or you know, you're doing it in a reaction to something that they're doing. It's really just valuing the connection that you've made to that node. And if other people want to use that connection, they're going to have to pay extra. So that's I think that's huge for really like valuing the liquidity that you do have on the network. That's a great question, BTC Chai, or Kai. The other thing that you made me think about was Neutrino, which sort of like my understanding is that it's sort of a lightweight way to run Lightning that could happen on your phone or even in a browser. But I don't have a great sense of how Neutrino works. Maybe Chaz, if you're able to weigh in on that.
Oof.
Okay. But or we could take another question.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So hey guys, I'm Renee over here. I have a couple questions as well. So I've been at Bitcoin since a while. I'm now experimenting with getting to know what can a programmer do with Bitcoin and now with Lightning Network. So I have two questions for you guys. First one is maybe an entry one. Which wallet would you recommend for somebody to get started with Lightning Network and bring more people into using it? And the second one would be what library out there, maybe an open source, I don't know what you guys, of course, you may have more experience. What library out there would you recommend for a programmer to start experimenting with the Lightning Network and with Bitcoin?
So I'll say, like, I'm going to address the second question first and say, I hope that Evan comes back so he can give you some programmer-specific advice there, because unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you that advice. I typically interview programmers. I myself am not a programmer. But I believe your first question is, how do we kind of onboard more people to the Lightning Network, right? So yeah, that one is basically the entire reason I started my show, because I felt like we needed some way to kind of give an easier path for people to get into this thing. Because when I started, it was very intimidating, and I'm sure from certain vantage points, it's still very intimidating to people that are very new in Bitcoin or very new to both Bitcoin and Lightning. So I think the only real way to go forward is education, as bland and cliche as that is. Like, you just need to go out there, talk to people, understand what their needs are, understand, why they might need Bitcoin and Lightning in their lives, and try to present, if Lightning and Bitcoin actually can do that for them, present the case. If it can't, like, just to kind of put that out there, don't shill when the shilling isn't, really honest. Don't just shill because you want Bitcoin to go up, kind of thing. But that being said, like, I think it's just basically just showing people the value in Bitcoin, showing the people the value in the Lightning Network and what it can provide to them, and just providing an easy means for them to onboard. And that's basically it. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. But like me and Jestopher were talking about this last night, like creating analogies to kind of explain the system that are really simple is a bit harder when you've been using the system for a long time, when you've immersed yourself in the hardest parts of that system for a long time. You just feel like telling people, oh, it's really easy to do channels. What are you talking about? Just do your channels, dude. Whatever. Obviously, that's not the case, but that's kind of where you come from. So my answer is just, start talking to people about Bitcoin and Lightning, and just start figuring out ways you can make it useful for them in their actual lives.
It sounded almost like you were asking for some wallet recommendations as well as just a
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Personally, I really like Breeze wallet. So that involves like no channel management, and Breeze opens kind of a turbo channel to your phone, and it also has some like almost commands line functions that are like in the developer section. But overall, it's a very easy app to use, and it also contains podcasts in it, which you can support podcasters with that podcasting 2.0. So you can not only listen but also transact. You can even send key send messages with Breeze, which has been really fun to play with. The other one that I might recommend is Phoenix Wallet, and that they charge like a small fee for receiving, which helps pay for kind of that channel infrastructure and all the maintenance of it. But it's a very easy one to use. Also, no channel management in that. For the more advanced users that maybe have their own hardware, like of course I'd push them towards using Zeus, just because it makes managing your channels and your node on the go very simple. For the absolute beginners that say like I don't want to have to understand this technology at all, like don't talk to me about channels, I just want to be able to pay and like have a ridiculously easy setup, like that's when I might push them towards getting a custodial Lightning wallet, which something like Blue Wallet provides that, and they do a great job making it very, very easy.
One of our audience members answered the second question for you, Renee, and he said, kind of getting started, you might want to go to lightningpolar.com and start using Polar, which is basically the software from Jamal James that would allow you to kind of create like test networks and kind of set up specific setups. So you could set up a node with LND, a node with Eclair, a node with C Lightning, and then kind of set up the balances in whatever kind of test scenario you want. So you can kind of just figure out certain things that might be really difficult to figure out on mainnet or even testnet, because you don't have to wait for blocks to come through. You can just do a command and set how many blocks went through and et cetera, et cetera. So that's a great for that. And then another one, which I might have a hard time giving you the full link for because it's a lot of slashes here, but I'll try, is docs.lightning.engineering/polar/guides/LAPPS.
I have a couple of suggestions. Can I speak up for a minute?
Go for it.
Sure, hit it.
Yeah, if you're looking into beginning to be a Lightning developer, then some of the things that I've found helpful are getting into communities on Telegram of other Lightning hackers who are trying to do stuff in this space. And I'll name drop a couple of them. Shadowy Supercoders is one where there's a lot of Lightning developers who come together and kind of just talk about things that they're working on, and come together to talk about like, what are you doing for the upcoming hack space? Everyone's going to present something on Wednesday. I think having a meetup, a local Bitcoin meetup that you can go to and talk to them is very helpful. Sometimes I make projects and then demo them for my local meetup, or demo my status, and that helps me make progress as well as keep enthusiasm going for the things I'm working on. So Shadowy Supercoders is a Telegram group that I just recommended. Also Plebnet Advanced is another developer group that I think you should consider getting involved in. That one's invitation only, but some of the people here in this group are part of that and can give you an invite. So yeah, I hope. Let me know if you need help with spelling any of those. But if you search for those on Telegram, I think that would help you a lot.
Thank you very much for all your answers. I'll be looking into those. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. And yeah, the more development that happens on Lightning, the more we all win. This, like, as this technology develops, it's just going to be this like massive gravity well of just pulling in capital just because it works and there's so much innovation happening. So yeah, it's I love to see coders just get attracted to this and people start hacking around because you don't even have to wait for consensus. You can just build what you want and have some fun with it.
Andreas Antonopoulos used to say that one of the things he loves most about Bitcoin is innovation is pushed to the edges. The only thing you need in order to have a successful product is that you like it and someone else likes it, and then you can spend money back and forth between each other using that thing that you made that you both like. And I think that really applies very, very well. Some of the stuff I make them because I like them, and no one else uses them or maybe even knows about them. So, but yeah, I think that kind of idea of pushing innovation to the edges, where you don't have to have a central committee decide what goes into the next version of whatever. You just make something, and now it exists, and anyone can use it. I think that's great.
That's a great point. And one of the things that you coded up, like I'm still using on my website, my satbase.org. I'm still using that Lightning paywall, even though you stopped liking what you made and were recommending I use a different product, but I still like it and I don't have to change anything about it. Yeah, people could probably work around my paywall, but it's kind of fun. Like if they're hacky enough, like yeah, you can skip paying good old Jestopher. But yeah, have fun with it, and yeah, build it into your websites. Yeah, what I'm referring to specifically is a WordPress plugin that allows you to set a paywall on your website to paywall your content, which is I
did that paywall like 2 years ago, and it has a bug whereby if you pay for one thing, you get access to all the things on that website. But apparently, Jestopher doesn't mind. So
I really don't care. Let's see. Do we have other questions? We've been going for about an hour, and got some great questions so far. Unfortunately, we've missed out on Evan's content. But Chaz, where do you want to take it from here?
I'm not sure. I didn't have a lot of topics ready for today. I've been trying my best to kind of keep us going in the interim, but I might have actually run out of a little news tidbits to work off of. And so I'm very nervously talking right now, and so we don't have dead air.
Namecheap is going to accept Lightning payments now, which is new.
Oh,
there you go.
Huge. Yeah, the other thing they just announced is domains. So go ahead.
Yeah, they just announced via Bitcoin Magazine. Well, they announced it on Twitter, and then Bitcoin Magazine posted an article, which is how I saw it. But yeah, they said that they have it in testing, and they got it all set up and working, and they're about to push it to production so that people can purchase domain names using the Lightning Network. I've been doing that for over a year with a different service called ahnames.com, and you can also do it there, but Namecheap is cheaper, as the name implies. So looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. The other thing that popped up on my feed this week was Fode Diop was interviewed as part of a Reason video, kind of about using Bitcoin and moving away from the CIFA, the the franc, which that's like one of the last vestiges of colonialism there in Africa, and being able to move away from that and use a currency that can't be controlled by individuals making backroom deals that like affect an entire country or several countries in this case. So it's a 6-minute video, and was absolutely incredible that he was able to say that like this technology combined with like just mobile phone technology allows access to a banking system that can't be controlled by a single individual, and just like add some additional resiliency out there. So you're not, you're relying on rules instead of rulers. So yeah, very exciting. And I hope to see more people have access to banking services, banking, and just global finance, which is what this technology allows.
So we brought up Bitcoin Odyssey to the stage. Do you happen to have a question?
Yeah, I do. Hey guys, love what you're doing, and I honestly just want to pick your brain a little bit on any lightning predictions you have for how we get from here to the entire banking infrastructure running on Lightning, full hyper Bitcoinization. If what do you see going along the way? How do you think that process is going to look? I know we're still super early, but I'm sure you've thought about this at least somewhat.
My answer is going to be grind it the fuck out, basically. Like it's not going to be an easy move from A to B there. Go ahead, Jestopher.
Yeah. It might be helpful to kind of just look at pain points in the system. Let's see, when you're looking at Bitcoin, it's like Bitcoin is like too complicated. Or I don't have enough time to learn about Bitcoin. But the content is improving. Like the rhetoric of Bitcoiners is like becoming much more sharpened. That makes it clear that like Bitcoin, like just taking that one step helps smooth over a lot of the clunky issues that happen with the fiat system. The next thing is going to be like transaction fees on Bitcoin. Like over time, they will go up. Right now, they're staying quite low, which is fantastic, and that's like also partially due to people actually making the upgrades like SegWit for the most part, and then from SegWit they can get Lightning going. So that's going to be those are like two pain points. One, we got a clunky fiat system, and then two, transaction fees on main chain Bitcoin. Now the next pain point is going to be just getting connected to the routing network, or to the Lightning network, because like the kind of mantra that I hear out of Lightning Labs, and also out of C Lightning, is that Lightning has a last mile problem. So how are you going to take someone from, okay, I have Bitcoin, and I want to get onto the Lightning network, but I don't have the right connections. And this, like the connections, that's like, it's a community effort. Like, who do you know in the Lightning network that is going to be able to connect you to all of the payment endpoints like that you as an economic actor want to access? So with that, with the tooling to help get us to that to solving that last mile problem, like that's going to be big. like from there, I don't even know what the next step is, but just kind of watching what's happening with routing nodes is they're all competing with each other, and they all have their individual networks that are in competition for paying to these different endpoints. And what we're watching is like transaction fees are just getting lower and lower and lower, and the technology that makes channels stable is getting better and better. So those two factors, they're going to drive overall transaction fees. So they are completely manageable, and we're going to get, maybe some more businesses connected. Maybe they're not like existing businesses right now, but if you can start a business just by spinning up a node, like that's huge. So maybe these are businesses that have never existed before, because for $200 worth of hobby hardware, like off the shelf parts, you can become part of this financial system and you can get connected. And if we're able to solve that last mile problem, you don't have to worry about managing your payments infrastructure, because the incentives are to connect everyone and connect them well. And if you're creating economic activity, I want to connect to you, because like I'm going to get yield out of it with my savings. And we're going to have a more robust network that's more interconnected, and that like all of this transactions across the world are going to become frictionless. And it's doing that with, through the free market, and we're all competing to make this a better technology.
I've got a couple ideas on this as well. Do you mind if I speak up for a minute, Lightning Junkies?
Have at it.
Yeah, so what Jestopher was just talking about are pain points within the Lightning Network that are getting easier and more manageable. I also think that in answer to your question, it's important to focus on pain points within the banking infrastructure. And probably the best example of this right now is Strike and Chivo Wallet, both of which noticed that international remittances cost, on the order of $20, $30 fees in order to send money from one country to the other, even if it's like US dollar to US dollar. Like you're not even doing a currency conversion, you're just sending US dollars and it's a 20 or 30% fee. So both of those wallets have identified that as a pain point and come up with solutions to where it only costs like a sat or even less. Like I think Strike does it totally for free, and they absorb the cost because of some agreements they have with exchanges. So but by making these things exist, what we do is we outcompete the traditional banking infrastructure. The Lightning Network allows us to do things that their infrastructure can't. So there's one example of that. I think another one is gift card services that have been popping up. Bitrefill, Fold app, Pay with Moon, and a couple of others offer these prepaid cards that you can purchase using Bitcoin, and they purchase those in bulk from the producers, like from Subway and from Domino's or wherever. They purchase those things in bulk from those producers because it's great on the producer side. They don't have to have any transaction fees. And then but if you're using their gift card already, you're not going through Visa, you're not going through MasterCard. So they get all the benefit from that. And then Fold and Bitrefill and these other ones are able to pass on those savings to the consumers, causing Bitcoiners to get better deals on these products. And this is something that the companies are noticing, because they're starting to say, hey, we want more of this business. They're actually going and advertising on those services and trying to court Bitcoiners in that way. So I think that's another example where we've got services that can do better than what the traditional banking infrastructure is doing. And as these companies see that if people pay with Lightning, they get more of the proceeds, and they don't have to pay Visa and MasterCard, they're going to gravitate toward that. So that's a big benefit. And a third example, I think, is the metaverse. So you've got games like Light Night, and you've got the new game from Fold that is an augmented reality game. And the only way to pay for putting advertisements or product placement in these games is on the Lightning Network. So that's where the demand is going. So you see advertisements by like Kraken and by Bitrefill and some of the games by Zebedee, and you see Fold is advertising on behalf of these big name customers right inside their metaverse game. So the whole metaverse where blockchains interact with, well, the Bitcoin's blockchain interacts with video games, I think is a big space that is, there's like 30 million people every day who have eyeballs on somebody's screen, either their own or somebody else's watching video games. And the only way that you can put advertisements into these video games is through Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. So I really think that's going to take off as well.
Go off, King. Love it.
That was awesome. You guys are making me more bullish than I already am. I'm not sure how, but I actually wanted to follow up though. So there currently still is historically less on-chain transactions than people on the planet, somewhere around like 700 million. So if we're going to scale up to about 5 billion people, I'm guessing we can all agree it's probably not even theoretically possible for everyone to open and close channels regularly that is an economic actor. How do you see that going forward in the future? Do you think that there's going to be services that just obscure the channel management for you and it becomes kind of like only if you're a Bitcoin whiz or a node operator, like hardened node operator, that you're managing channels, and then everything else kind of happens on top of that? Or how do you see that evolving?
I can see, let's see, right now in Lightning, you're kind of making a choice between custodial. Am I going to use a custodial solution and use someone else's channels, or am I going to do this myself with my own hardware? Now, Bitcoin has pushed me really far in the direction of I want to own this infrastructure myself, and I want to don't trust, verify. But I can also tell you that the permissions and the cryptography that is happening in the form of macaroons really allows kind of a blurring of the lines of between custodial and non-custodial. So you might be able to use in the future someone else's infrastructure, or you could delegate certain permissions to some of the users. So for example, the idea that I might manage someone else's node and I might be in charge of opening and closing channels, but would not be able to control payments. That's something that I'm looking forward to, and that's something that can be done using macaroons today, but I'm expecting a lot more development to happen in the future with just using the cryptography on nodes. So it could be in the future that you are using someone else's hardware, but that you have control of certain aspects, and maybe they don't have control over other aspects that might be threatening to you if you were otherwise using a custodial system. I'm sure there's a much better way that I could say that, but it's going to involve less and less trust as the math and the infrastructure gets better.
So I think the answer that I would give here is I'm probably going to take a longer term answer here and mention channel factories, because I think in reality, most people, those billions of people that you mentioned, I think most of them will probably not be on the Lightning Network. Just like before, how most people will not be making on-chain transactions in the future, I happen to think it's going to be very similar with the Lightning Network, that the cost of on-chain will kind of push the cost of the Lightning Network up to a certain extent, where people will kind of feel the need to be on some version of layer 3, whether that be channel factories, which are kind of otherwise known as multi-party channels, or doing some kind of setup with Liquid or with state chains, or some other kind of exponentially increasing scaling system. And I think that's what multi-party channels or channel factories would actually get us. And we could definitely get into that, but I think that would be my real answer, that like the game that we're playing on the Lightning Network now is only a short-term game, and at some point we will have to play a different game.
I just wanted to add that is basically also my opinion on how I see it evolving as well. And I think in the future that Lightning will be very different from what we use it for today, and I think it'll be much more abstractly used as like a settlement layer in like much more complicated schemes for just settling I guess more specialized use cases, which we're kind of seeing being developed now. But yeah,
that would be huge, actually. If we're able to like just improve like ATMs infrastructure with Lightning, and we use like cash at the very end point, like I don't have really any issue with that as long as I can just like dump my fiat at the end of it, and that's just understood. That's what you do. Like you go to an ATM, you scan a QR code, and you can make a Lightning transaction, and then like you're using like cash at the endpoint. But like we can still use these. I'm sure there's going to be like much better technology in the future that would enable this, but not everyone has to run Lightning.
Yeah, I think that people are going to, as people have kind of noticed, it's I think that there will be increasing specialization to Lightning, and that'll pay dividends in just like what we end up seeing in terms of like just better products being produced, which people want to use. And I think it will actually be more of a kind of like company product focused environment, which anybody can, kind of like participate in and, like get involved with. And because I do think it is also easier to kind of like modify the Lightning protocol and kind of like communication between different people in Lightning than the base layer. And I think that's probably a good thing. And will definitely promote a lot of development, like with the recent developments that like Rusty has added for, like streaming, or not, what's it called? Why can't I? It's not coming to mind.
Bolt 12 or offers, basically.
Yeah. So I think that we'll see a lot more of that, like quality of the improvements will just keep increasing, and more people will start producing on it.
So, but I feel like the main issue at some point is we're going to have a 2015, 2016 time for the Lightning Network like we had for on-chain. So like as far back as like 2013 or 2014, I was able to make free transactions on the Bitcoin network where I literally had a 0 sat fee attached and it would still go through. And at some point, the miners just dropped that and would not pick up transactions that did not have the 0.0001 or 10,000 sats fee attached. And people had to kind of adopt their usage of Bitcoin over time. Like I had to adopt. Like I couldn't just send Bitcoin to my different wallets all day long for no reason, kind of all day for no like just back and forth. Like there was a real cost added to that, so I had to really think about it, and it changed everyone. It made Bitcoin Cash happen, where everyone thought the network should work a certain way. and they had to fork off and go test their assumptions someplace else. But I'm not sure this would be really called a coming to Jesus moment, but basically, people were forced by the reality of Bitcoin that they couldn't just treat it as this like free payment network anymore. There was a real cost to things. And I think we're in a very similar kind of naive time with the Lightning Network right now. We're kind of in the 2013 time of, on-chain Bitcoin, where everything works really well. Roger Ver is super happy with all his, zero conf Bitcoin transactions. But, there's coming a time where we're not going to be so happy and carefree with Lightning anymore. Like, channels are going to be really fucking expensive, and we're going to be on a very different footing than we are now. And I may not be ready for it, honestly. It's probably going to come out of nowhere. We're just going to have on-chain fees on Bitcoin that are sustained, and they just don't stop. We just have a certain level of adoption that just keeps creeping up. Obviously, you have to believe that Bitcoin's going to get widely adopted to think that's going to happen. But if you do think that, then Lightning Network is going to have a reckoning someday, and we're either going to be ready or we're not. And I think if I'm looking at the current state of things, we're probably not going to be ready for it.
I think that what's really interesting about Lightning from all these layer 3 solutions like state chains, drive chains, things like this, are that it is actually closer to the base layer in terms of just fees and how that impacts the ecosystem as a whole. I think it actually is a larger value add to the Bitcoin blockchain than it would be to Bitcoin Cash or something like that if they were to just adopt Lightning, because I think there's definitely there's that network effect. But on top of that, I think that on Lightning, it makes a much bigger difference and really gives value to the base chain, because if you kind of there was a conversation, and it sometimes still goes on, where people were talking about way in the future when people use what it'll look like for fees on the base chain, and how the fees on Lightning, if they take from that. And I think that they do a little, but I think that that's a good thing, in that it promotes development of Lightning in a way which, just like the fees on something like Bitcoin Cash are not the same as the one on Bitcoin, and that changes the chains themselves and makes them pretty fundamentally different. That by having a Lightning network with a really good fee market, you'll promote development that is very specific to the base layer and can't really be co-opted by other chains as easy.
Awesome. Thanks for the answers, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We actually got a question from our YouTube live stream. Just a note to everyone, we actually live stream this to YouTube as well. And so it looks like Todd is asking, does BTC need to be classified as legal tender to gain mainstream adoption as a transaction vehicle? Now, my answer is absolutely fucking not. We do not need the state to give us permission in order for us to kind of live the lives that we want to, including using Bitcoin as a transaction vehicle. So, I can kind of understand his question here, that mainstream adoption might be different than, us over here on the fringes, being pains in the ass and refusing to do XYZ that the state might want us to do. But no, honestly, I think that we don't need the legal tender law to actually get mainstream adoption. The internet didn't need some kind of law in order to make the mainstream adoption happen. I think there was probably laws that did make it go faster, but I don't believe they were required. And I think it's a very different scenario for Bitcoin, because I think the internet didn't start with this cypherpunk, kind of message underneath it, with like freedom being the underlying point, or at least I didn't see that growing up in the 90s. Maybe people that were actually working on the internet might contradict me there. But like, I just see Bitcoin and the Lightning Network as a freedom technology. And it being a freedom technology means that even if no governments ever change their minds and they bitterly fight Bitcoin, that it could still be adopted. Like, the question is it useful? Can it make people's lives better? If the answer is yes, then it doesn't matter if all countries on the planet ban Bitcoin, because the network effects would naturally just counteract that action. So I mean, I think that's just my main response, that like, we can't depend on the state to change its ways. Like, I think we have to take a kind of idea from Thomas Jefferson, that if a law is unjust, it is your moral responsibility to break that law. So, maybe to take it outside of Bitcoin for a second, like the war on drugs, it's kind of your responsibility, even if you don't like drugs, to break that law. Go buy some weed, throw it away if you want, but skirting the laws of the government and say, go fuck yourself, this law isn't moral, is where I think a lot of the mainstream adoption of Bitcoin will come from. But I could also understand the argument that I'm kind of talking from an ideological stance right now, and that I'm not living in the real world. I could basically accept that, but I obviously don't agree.
Also, I just think that as a result of the government not understanding Bitcoin, like, I think that when they try to like regulate it as some sort of money transmitting service or something like this, like, whenever they, like, typically just in laws, they have to pin something down to one specific utility or some way in which people typically use this thing. And I think that as soon as they do that and it gets entrenched in laws, that'll be like really bad for them, in terms of like, then they'll have to navigate their own definitions for something which they're not even properly describing. Like, I would have been much more worried about them adding legislation against mining than against money transmitting. And it doesn't seem like they have really paid any attention to that. So besides like some like eco environmentalism, which they haven't really, brought any legislation out against. So I think that, the more that they go down one rabbit hole, it's really better.
I really like the war on drugs analogy. I mean, here we are with using this censorship-resistant money that is like driven by permissionless innovation. So anyone can build on this. You don't have to get permission from anyone to code something up. And then layering on top of it a technology where it kind of disguises what individual transactions are like, and then more than half of the nodes on the Lightning Network, last time I checked, were running on Tor. So this is like already happening on the darknet. I mean, what a system that like would be so difficult to shut down, because we are really moving value over a communications network, and it doesn't even get broadcast everywhere. It's simply like peer-to-peer. You just have a channel with someone else, and you guys are able to communicate value to each other through that channel for essentially zero fee. So you don't need a law to say that is okay, because this is simply communication between two people, and it happens to occur within a framework of a smart contract that governs this channel, that says that these types of behaviors are okay, and this will be the result if you deviate from those behaviors. So, like, I mean, what a cool way to kind of skirt whatever system that like wants to stop this innovation. If you want to adopt it as a legal tender, like great. I mean, hopefully you're going to provide a safe place for development and for innovators to go, and that could happen in your country if you're going to cater to the brilliant people that are taking part in the Bitcoin network and the Lightning network. So I'm looking forward to more countries adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender, but it is not at all required because we're used to operating underground, and we already use the technology that makes it an underground technology. Like, we're already hidden. If you want us to come out of the shadows and contribute in your country as innovators, yeah, make the legal system a little bit more attractive to us.
I also wanted just to point out, just to be clear, laws are not morality. Laws are not morality. I think everyone here knows that, but I just want to say that out loud to be clear. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so I just want to go ahead and say, like, we're at an hour and a half, and I think we might be reaching towards the end here. I didn't have a lot of other news to work with here. So if anyone else has any other questions or we have any other topics to touch, I think we might have maybe 15 minutes more. I don't know. Do you have anything else on your side?
No, I think this conversation has been fantastic so far. So if people have any last questions, we've gotten awesome questions so far. So I'm always happy to answer these questions, kind of explore a little bit what Lightning Network is capable of today and what it will be capable of tomorrow. Really love the kind of forward look that we're going with today. So if there's no other questions, like, thanks everybody for coming out.
Yeah, I'm not getting any more messages. I do want to respond very quickly to Todd on YouTube once again. Yeah, it's definitely understandable that friends and family may not want to interact with Bitcoin or the Lightning Network without more clear legal ramifications being laid out for them, whatever. But I guess, there has to be like trailblazers, and there has to be people that are willing to, step outside the line and try these things and make it clear as much as possible. My audio went whack apparently, so maybe I'll just stop talking. I don't know.
Oh no, that was great, Chaz, and thanks so much for all the questions. Yeah, fantastic conversation today. Always look forward to Lightning Friday, and well, what do you say, Chaz? Do you want to go over sponsors?
Oh, right. So let's go over our sponsors. I think we should try to do that in the middle of the thing instead of at the very end. But
yeah.
All right. So this Lightning Friday is brought to you by Lightning Junkies. Lightning Junkies tries to bring you Bitcoin Lightning Network education twice a month on our podcast and every week with Lightning Friday. Our next show is Impervious.ai, and then the show after that is Ben Arc talking about LNbits. So there's definitely some good shows coming. We are also brought to you by Zeus Wallet. Zeus Wallet is the wallet that Evan is kind of involved with and in charge of and making very lovely. Zeus Wallet supports C Lightning, LND, Eclair, and a bunch of other stuff is coming down the pipeline, including a new redesign, other features, and all that good stuff. Lightning Friday is also brought to you by Amboss. Amboss is the best Lightning Network Explorer out there. You know, it has default dark mode, unlike 1ml.com. So that's definitely a huge improvement there. You can join communities. You can use the Lightning Network login to claim your node and all that good stuff. Did I hit everything there?
I think so, yeah. We're just providing a social network where you're able to kind of observe what the market is, what the market's doing right now, and where fees are at different parts of the network. So yeah, Amboss.Space is the website, and you can claim your node there and get connected.
And if you want to check out Lightning Junkies, we are on lightningjunkies.net. And if you wanted to check out Zeus, it's zeusln.app. All right, that's the end of the show, y'all. I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate the audience participation. But for now, I'm a robot, and I'll see you on the Lightning Network.